just a failure of humanity or failure of leadership. Um, what do you think?
Let me explain where we are. I think when people understand where we are, they'll see that we only have ourselves to thank for whatever the outcome is going to be, because we are actually at a fork in the road. And I'm working together with whistleblowers, first of all, from the World Bank. That's who I started out working with. And then I started working with anybody as my story and the rest of the whistleblower story got out. And once Elaine Colville, who's in Scotland, she's a World Bank whistleblower, the two of us got our statement up on the UK Parliament website. What was our statement? The first statement I got up was that the capital markets are absolutely, they're just completely controlled by this conglomerate that has 40% of the assets and 60% of the earnings of all the companies that are traded. And the Securities and Exchange Commission is not enforcing insider trading laws, and the Securities and Exchange Commission was not requiring KPMG to do an honest audit of the World Bank financial statements, because I bought a World Bank bond, which meant that I was a bondholder, and the World Bank was not immune. So I went to the Serious Fraud Office in the United Kingdom, and I told the Serious Fraud Office that it was their responsibility, since the UK was also helping to finance the World Bank, and also because UK citizens owned World Bank bonds. It was their responsibility to end this corruption that I was reporting. So the Serious Fraud Office called up the Securities and Exchange Commission. That was in 2010. The SEC couldn't be bothered. The same people at the SEC that brought us Bernie Madoff wouldn't answer the Serious Fraud Office. So then, when the UK Parliament asked a question about supervision of the UK money in the World Bank, I answered that question. I said there was no supervision, that the UK taxpayer money was just going to the dogs at the World Bank. And then there was a second question, which was on privatization. They wanted to know in the UK Parliament whether the functions of the UK public ought to be privatized. And I said, absolutely not, because the entity that was supposed to be supervising the World Bank on behalf of the UK had been privatized, and they were doing a lousy job. And then the third question was, how is the UK Parliament and the rest of the UK government doing on processing complaints? And I said, you're doing a lousy job. I've been complaining to the Parliament for years, and you're just sitting on your hands. And Elaine Colville gave a much more blunt criticism, because she had been going to the Prime Minister and the Ombudsman, and she raked them over the coals. You can see our statements up on the Parliament.
So then, back to the question: Does that mean that you see a failure in the American leadership to uphold the values of the Constitution, or because there are people out there that say, we have this great document and it stands for so much and it's brought us so far, but we have people who are in power who disregard it and simply pay it lip service. So, where do you stand on that position?
Well, I have been going to the U.S. Congress and writing to them and talking to them, and I've been talking, for example, to General Martin Dempsey on December 2nd when he had a town hall meeting. I've been discussing the problem one-on-one when the Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, was a senator. I spoke to him about this power transition model that we were discussing, which is very accurate, which said that we were at a fork in the road, and that if we would lose our allies, we would have a currency war. And they know very well how that model works, because they've been working on it in the Department of Defense, and how very accurate it is. So what can I say? They are completely aware of the fact that we are at the fork in the road. And why I think we're going to take the high road is because they know enough citizens are also aware of this model. And they're demanding of their government that we take the high road. They're not letting them off the hook. They're writing their Congress people And for example, there was a meeting. I've been at this business of whistleblowing, and I've been getting public coverage now for quite some time. Although not with the mainstream media, you won't find the first interview on the mainstream media. So going back to one of your questions about RTTV, when RTTV did have me on, this is not a little story. Where did you find this in the mainstream media? So no, we're not. I guess the answer is you get the government you deserve. There's something called the National Taxpayer Union. They have a blog up on me. I've had a number of people writing their congresspeople, and I was going to start talking about the county executives because there was a meeting of county executives in July. And what happened was one of the people that just writes to me based on some of the news coverage that I'm getting with HDTV and also with the stories on the alternative media. So they contacted me and they said, Karen, you can't just keep going to the governors. You have got to go to something else because the governors are not responding. So that's when I started writing to an organization of county executives. And they had a meeting in July and they elected Ike Leggett, who is the county executive of Montgomery County, Maryland, which is the county that I live in. And so I have been keeping Ike Leggett informed. I've been asking all of the people that contact me to contact their county executives as well. So what I would say is that we have a very intricate but powerful system in our republic that does have all of the bells and whistles necessary. And we will be able to take back our republic. I'm very optimistic that the machinery will work. But I'm also not underestimating the amount of the cleanup job because I've been, as a lawyer, I've been going to the American Bar Association. I would have to say that the legal profession is seriously, seriously broken, that the bar associations should not be responsible for licensing attorneys because they have not been responsive. I say that that system is totally broken.
Karen, we're just about out of time, and I want to give you another opportunity to give your final thoughts to the American people on the state of America and the state of the world, and the practical things that the individuals can do to make change happen for humanity.
Well, the very first thing I would say is go out and buy silver and gold coins because we still have Federal Reserve notes, and those pieces of paper are toilet paper. That is the very first thing that you should do because you do not want your family not to have currency, and what you currently have is not worth anything. That's why the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are no longer paying for their international trade in dollars. Governments are no longer holding the Federal Reserve notes. We need to be you need to do your homework as citizens and find out what it means when you have Federal Reserve notes. They're valueless and they are unconstitutional, and we need to get that outfit out of here. That's the very first thing. And then the second thing is that we have to all work together to clean up the mess. And I don't think it's going to be that hard, actually, to get our republic back.